This is all the game.
Bullshit, all right? Bullshit. I know what happened to that guy. They shot that guy flying goldfish and then they killed him.
Think about it. What'd you see?
I saw them kill him.
You know what did you really see this whole time? Special effects. Squibs like in the movies. Nicholas, listen. Get off this camera. We got a real gun. There's real goddamn bullets up here. Okay, I'll put it down. Mr. Fisher, he's on the other side of that door. He's an actor.
You're trying to kill me.
No one's trying to kill you, Nicholas. Please put that gun down. You're about to make the biggest mistake of your life. Nicholas, there was always a safety net. The taxi, there was a diver, my house. They just shot at us with blanks.
It's not true.
It is. It's what you hired us for. They're waiting on the other side of that door with champagne. Nicholas. Please, God damn it, Conrad. Conrad's there. It's your birthday party.
You stop flying.
Let me show you.
Don't you move.
He's got a gun! Get back from the door!
You shot him.
Someone call an ambulance!
He's dead. I thought you knew. How'd you let this get so out of hand?
He wouldn't listen to me.
I went through this over and over again. Mark is your responsibility. You never let the market take over.
I'm sorry.
You could have asked him. I had a walkie-talkie.
I used the walkie-talkie.
We're going to jail. We're all going to jail for the rest of our lives.
Oh, God. Nicholas!
How would you define gravity? Could you describe in layman's terms its basic principles for us?
Gravity is something difficult to explain because it's something that we essentially don't understand. It's just something that we can observe. Not much is really known about gravity.
That rifle that was legally purchased by his father. Tonight, we want to listen to the president as he now addresses the nation about this political violence, this attempted assassination. Let's listen to the president.
Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors, we're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we are fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back. Take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke to him last night, and I'm grateful. He is well, and Jill and I continue his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of Elizabeth. Corey was a husband, a father, volunteer fireman, hero, shelter, and family from the town.
Hey look, Michael Douglas landed in Tartaria. Never noticed that before. Just a joke. Gotta joke about something right now, because... good grief. I really didn't want to make a video about this, and... I still don't think I really do, but as the week has gone on, it's kind of been impossible not to want to say something about it, because, I mean... yeah, in many ways, it's like hearkening back to the very origins of conspiracy and, you know, with JFK and all that. At least the term, obviously, but... man, what a trip. And, yeah, it's just, I've been thinking about all kinds of things. It's just kind of made me reflect back on first learning about 9/11 and trying to process all the layers and all the pieces that would go into that event. You know, including, you know, people on the street corners giving interviews and people in the media and in the military and, you know, trying to wrap your head around, like, how something like that could be pulled off. All the components, all the players that you would need, all the extras, as it were. But then over the years, seeing event after event, thinking about Boston bombing and the Las Vegas shooting and what was that one called up in Connecticut? I mean, there's so many ironies and so many weird, like, reversals now going on after this event where, I don't know, yeah, it's like, where do you even begin? Where do you even begin? But yeah, I started thinking about this movie, The Game, from 1997. Can't remember when I actually watched it the last time, but how it actually... it depicts that very thing. You know, by the end of it, he breaks into the office of Consumer Recreational Services, this company that he signed up to play the game with at the beginning. And he goes in there, and there's the whole cafeteria full of, you know, employees and, you know, actors and things. And I've been thinking about that because with this event that happened last Saturday at the Trump rally, in some ways you kind of gotta tip your hat to, like, how this is, it's kind of a masterpiece of an op because of who it is and because of all the circumstances of the past 8 years, you know, at least, but particularly, you know, ever since the Trump presidency the first time and the 2020 insanity in J6 and 4 years of the Biden gaslighting. I mean, there's this gaslighting on every side, and that's kind of where, you know, as I was thinking about the movie of The Game, where it's like, you know, that's basically what they're doing the whole time, is just ramping up the psychological warfare, and they, you know, they start messing with him on every level, and every time he thinks he's kind of getting to the bottom of something, there's a twist, and it totally throws you off, and it gets weirder, and, you know, by the end of it, to where he's just out of his mind, that he ends up shooting his own brother. I mean, the fact that it's Sean Penn is just kind of perfect too. I mean, you know, now that we see what kind of like a real life CRS actor he really, that's what they all are. I mean, that's what the whole, this is why I was like, this is such a perfect analogy or whatever. Something to talk about this all, you know, in a more abstract way or whatever. There's a lot of good metaphors. But the part that I hadn't even really thought about before was how the message of the movie is showing you that all this trauma that they put him through, all the lying and all the gaslighting and the, you know, the chaos and the hell they put this guy through, that it was all justified in the end. That it was all part of some larger, you know, it's the noble lie concept. Because they freed him from his selfishness and drudgery, and he has this kind of born-again experience, you know, by going through everything he did and making him confront his demons with his father who had committed suicide when he was a child. That's what the whole clown doll thing was like, you know, there to kind of mess with him, you know, that's what that was connecting back to. And so he does the same thing as his father, but then he doesn't die, he lands on the X. It even kind of looks like the X logo of formerly known as Twitter, whatever. I mean, it's the idea that, yeah, all these, whether they're doing it just because it's a job, you know, I think that's what the woman main character, I forget her name in the movie, it's a job, That's why she does it. You know, it pays well. She gets to travel. But, you know, but like you're doing CIA level spy work, basically. But then it's an amazing, when you step back and think about it, the fact that they made this movie basically rationalizing the idea of false flags and crisis actors and painting as a good thing in the end. That's fascinating to me. It's fascinating when you really think about, when you have an event like this where, I mean, okay, it's so sloppy. There's so many, and I'm trying to be careful not to just be like rude or judgmental against anyone, because the whole thing is like, when you play upon people's emotions, after we've been through years and years, we've all been traumatized, right? We've all been traumatized by things on the television screen throughout our entire lives. This is how the whole game is played. Using fear and using all kinds of Hollywood manipulative tactics and the pendulum swinging back and forth, right and left. And it's just accelerated in the past 8 years so much. And so now we're seeing it kind of at this peak, at peak levels, to where now it's all flipped around. And so many of the people who, if this same event had happened to pretty much anyone else, right? Like, what are the odds that somehow the shooter gets into the perimeter and somehow all the bystanders are pointing him out? But like, it's too. So of course, obviously, the conclusion that they want one side to come to is that it was the deep state, as if they even need to use snipers anymore. Like, as if they don't have 50 other ways to. I mean, gosh, this is not how you would do it, especially with some 20-year-old MK guy. Sorry, they want it to look like a botched job to spin people up. I mean, it's like when you look at what did this event accomplish? What narrative was furthered when all was said and done? And it was weird because when I was watching it on Saturday, somebody sent me a clip of like that minute-long thing, right, where he's talking, he's pointing to the chart, and then you hear the shots, and then he goes down, and I felt the I started feeling like, whoa, emotion, not because I'm like in love with Trump, but because it's like, holy cow, they're trying to shoot presidential candidate or former president. Like, that's a big, like, the moment of like, this is historic. I could feel my heart beating, and I was just like, oh my gosh. For about 30 seconds, and then I saw the fist go up. He comes back up, and it was like, okay, you got me. Well done, guys. And yeah, and everything that has come out after first thing that hand go in the air, it's like, yeah, what? Come on, y'all. I know it's hard for a lot of people to really, because they have all these other components, right? They have the unquestionable narrative components that, ironically, we've seen being employed against us and against, InfoWars and Alex Jones, right? You can't suggest that they wouldn't lie about innocent come on. Come on, y'all. I mean, they caught a picture of the bullet whizzing through the air. If that had happened with any other person or scenario, would you really believe that they just happened to take a picture? When in the history of man, it's like, 9/11 is the only time that, like, steel frame buildings ever just collapsed due to fire. It's such an anomaly, and it happened 3 times in one day. There's probably just as many statistical impossibilities that has happened here if we really broke them all down. What are the odds of, tilting his head at just the right second? I get it. It's divine intervention, right? Divine intervention. And then, just coincidentally happened to happen right before the convention. 2 days before, and he gets to show up with the bandage on his ear. And the whole thing is about God is with us, and Tucker Carlson comes out and cashes in all his indie cred that he's been building up since he got kicked out of Fox. I mean, it's like, good grief. Which bums me out because, there have been moments where I've been like, oh, maybe Tucker Carlson really is seeking the truth and seeking God and not just another shit, like they're all human. These are all people. They're all real humans. They all have a soul. I mean, here's the thing, yeah. Like, can you be in the limelight, in the stage, in the political sphere, or in the media sphere on any, you know, all these people that came out after COVID, like the new mainstream, the new alternative, you know, everyone's doing a podcast now, and everyone, Hulk Hogan going on Joe Rogan and talking about Jesus, and now ripping his shirt off for the Trumpsters. It's just, there was like so many layers of this. How we've been primed, we're being primed for moments like these, this whole week, and then now there's going to be the aftermath, and there's going to be whatever the next event is, you know, whether it's they stage something against the other side and blame it on the right-wing extremists. And so I guess the one of the main reasons I'm even talking about it at all is just because of, you know, thinking back on January 6th of 2020, or 2021, I guess it was, and what a honeypot that really was. And we could see it coming. You know, I thought they were going to blow up the Capitol or something and blame it on the Trump supporters, but no, it turned out to be a lot less dramatic than that. But they played it up as being, you know, trying to overthrow the government. It's an insurrection. So the power of the media. And now here we have this event just being picked apart. And you've got like so many layers to it, with like, oh, the sloped roof and the DEI, Secret Service, and the you know, and it's like people analyzing every side and angle to it, except for like what I think is like the most obvious and simple. Or being able to understand that you can't believe anything. For all we know, everyone in the crowd behind him is just as much a part of the event, the planned event, as the Secret Service or the you know, whatever feds and CIA and deep state. You can't get caught up in the emotion of the narrative and of the imagery and of the scene, and it's like, it's difficult when all the rhetoric has just been amped up to 11. You've been called racist and be called extremist and being, I mean, they're really amping up the whole religion narrative, the war between the religious right and the liberal left. This is where it's just getting kind of, I mean, there's lots of directions they could go. So I'm less, I mean, people who've been watching, I think, my channel, I think you already kind of know where I stand on this whole event, or hopefully you should. You know where I stand on Trump and on the whole right-left paradigm. So, you know, if you want a more in-depth breakdown, like Tim Truth had a good breakdown of the actual ballistics and the misdirection, you know, oh, what are the odds that he's directing everyone's view over to the screen and the chart, right? That's when the shooter decides to shoot. And you can't see his ear. There's no footage of the ear actually getting hit. And then he goes down, then he comes back up, and he's got, you know, yeah, he's got the money shot. He's got the photo op. What a turn of events. What a divine intervention. That God would not only spare his life, but give him, like, yeah, like, come on, people. But the real question isn't just to, like, debunk. It's not so much about this event, because I don't know. People are so emotionally invested in either, and this is what's interesting, is that now people on the other side are looking at it going, yeah, because they don't have all that emotional bias. They can look at it and be like, yeah, this thing looks like it was totally staged. But then that conflicts with, like, their, like, well, then, okay, what about, like, 100 other things that have gone on that have been all things that you've scoffed at? You know, we're all conspiracy theorists now. It's just, yeah, which one do you want? Or, you know, which side are you defending? And they're both, you know, they're both fake, in my opinion. And Trump has been prepped for this role for a long time. He's been playing along with this role for a long time. And so, yeah, is it all just to foment the division and then eventually create some kind of a, yeah, the Civil War 2.0, or, you know, an even bigger honeypot? Let's say they did another attempt and it was successful, and everyone on the right loses their minds and picks up their guns and whatever. That would be bad. That's a honey trap you don't want to fall into. But I think I'm even more, my main, I think, sort of concern, or where it seems like where it's going, is that he gets in and maybe things seem to turn around for a little bit, things get better, or at least like gas prices go down. You know, it wouldn't take much at this point for people to kind of, you know, you could have a little honeymoon period, but then you collapse the economy. I mean, the fact that, like, yeah, the stock market just keeps going up and up and up. And they're just inflating the balloon as big as they possibly can, so that when it pops, you know, they want it all to pop all over the world. And so, like COVID, I mean, what did he usher in? What's the one thing that they're not talking about with all this? That's what really infuriates me about that. Even though it's like, okay, it's all, he's as much of a puppet as Dementia Joe. It's all narratives. He's a salesman. He's an actor. He's a media creation of the deep state, of the real deep state. But to what end? Why is he still in the game? Why? What's their end game with putting him back in office if they do? It's not because he's going to take over and be, I mean, maybe he'll do things that the right wouldn't go along with in terms of laws and, you know, the pendulum swinging back. We had defund the police, and now we got to crack down on all the crime. We got to deport all the illegals. But more than all that stuff, I think it's more the financial, the digital, and this is why the J.D. Vance VP edition is actually pretty interesting. I didn't even think of it as being very significant at first, but the more you look into this guy, he just glows, dude. I mean, it's weird. I mean, when you look into, like, so Ron Howard decided to make a movie out of his book 3 years ago. You know, like, when you just look into the whole story of, like, why he was being interviewed and being, like, he got all this attention as soon as he wrote this book, and it went on the bestseller list, and it was like, he hadn't really done anything other than write this book, and you go to Yale Law School, and the whole thing is just so fishy and weird. And then, yeah, going to Silicon Valley and working for Peter Thiel. I think he's being brought in for a very specific reason, to potentially help sell to the segment of America, and by extension the world, you know, a certain demographic, a certain something that they wouldn't, just like with Operation Warp Speed. You know, think about if Hillary had been the president when COVID popped off, and she was, you know, talking about Operation Warp Speed. You would have had half the country being like, no way. But what they did is they had, you know, yeah, Trump. Because at the beginning, remember, nobody wanted to get the Trump shot on the left. But then once they passed the baton over to Biden, then it was like, oh yeah. Then it became a right-wing. Things have flipped back and forth like so many times in the last however many years. Just even COVID, and I couldn't get over just seeing how, you know, supposedly the liberal left, who, you know, we're all about, we're not into GMOs, but we're gonna take a mRNA. We're gonna try and force you to take this mRNA shot just to even function in society. Like, that's still kind of, yeah, that was just mind control in action. That was just kind of unthinkable, that many people could just get so beaten down either by fear or peer pressure or whatever it was, whatever spirit was at work with all that. And to me, that's the crime that is just being swept under the rug, and everyone who's getting on board with the Trump train and the divine intervention and God, you know, all this, man, forcing myself to watch this convention was just painful, but I made myself do it. Especially, like, yeah, the beginning and the end of it. But yeah, Tucker, Operation Mockingbird, Carlson, and yeah, all of his talk about God and faith and democracy means, you know, we all own the country and all this stuff. It's like, all the credibility that these people have now built up, you know, Russell Brand went, you know, these people were supposedly not playing the right-left game. They were done. It was like they're all sold out. It's all the Uniparty. Whatever happened to the, you know, we're not down with the Uniparty, but oh, he's going to the convention, and, you know, and whether it has to do with financial opportunity or what, this is all building up for something. And I have a feeling that it's when Trump is in if Trump gets put back in office and we have a crisis of whatever kind, I mean, or who knows, maybe the alien, you know, the other thing that Tucker did conveniently kind of foresee an attempt on Trump's life, but he's also been talking about UAPs and what's the government hiding about UFOs and stuff like that. So maybe the pseudo-religious right is there to help guide us into the alien disclosure. You know, who knows? But I think all signs really just point to, yeah, the digital. I mean, Peter Thiel, good grief, transhumanist. Why would a conservative dude be working for Peter Thiel in Silicon Valley? I don't even. He doesn't even seem like the same guy. If you watch, he has like TED Talks from 7 years ago, and you see him now, it's like it's a totally different guy. It's weird. Like there's some deep spook action going on with J.D. Vance. I don't know. I don't even want to know, but it's the game. They're all players in the game. They're all extras in the gaslighting journey that we are all on. The trauma-based mind control that we are all being subjected to. The emotional manipulation that both sides are being subjected to. And yeah, and just seeing God being brought into it is probably the most painful thing of all. On both sides, for the people that are all eating it up with a spoon and the people on the other side that are looking at it like, what a joke. And it's crazy. Like, just a few months ago, I watched the full speeches that Trump and Hillary gave in 2016 at the Al Smith dinner in New York City. You know, where it's such a weird thing where they, like, you know, roast each other. They do these, like, it's like stand-up comedy. They do these little stand-up routines. And of course Trump was much better at it than Hillary, but at the end of each of their monologues, they give this like ecumenical message. And when you look into the history of this dinner, I mean, it happens every year, but only every 4 years. Every 4 years, like, it's the last time that the two presidential candidates appear together before the election. And this has been going on since like 1945. This dinner. And somehow it became this tradition in American politics. And I don't know when the roast thing started, but, you know, Kennedy, like everyone, Reagan, Obama, Mitt Romney, I mean, you can go back and watch them all. It's probably one of the most glaring examples of how it's like, yeah, it's a big club and we ain't in it. And they're all participating in this game where they pretend to be enemies and they pretend to hate each other, but really they're all part of the same club. They're all part of the same thing. And you just hear them like listing off the people who are in the room. And Trump being there as a young man with his dad, and, you know, JFK being at the dinner, you know, and there's like Nelson Rockefeller's in the room, and, you know, they're at the Waldorf Astoria. I mean, it's like behind the curtain kind of peek, even though it's in the open. It's really bizarre. But yeah, they always make these Hillary Clinton talking about, like, yeah, anti-Catholic, basically anti-Catholic conspiracy theories and warning against that, and how, you know, neither one of these people are Catholic, but why are they all sitting here kissing the ring of the archdiocese, you know, in New York?
But I have great memories of coming to this dinner with my father over the years when I was a young man. Great experience for me. This was always a special experience for him and me to be together. One thing we can all agree on is the need to support the great work that comes out of the dinner. Millions of dollars have been raised to support disadvantaged children, and I applaud the many people who have worked to make this wonderful event a critical lifeline for children in need. And that we together broke the all-time record tonight is really something special. More than 6 million net. The Cardinal told me that's net, Donald, remember. We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias to defend religious liberty, and to create a culture that celebrates life. America is in many ways divided. Thank you. America is in many ways divided like it's never been before. And the great religious leaders here tonight give us all an example that we can follow. We're living in a time and age that we never thought possible before. The vicious barbarism we'd read about in history books, but never thought we'd see it in our so-called modern-day world. Who would have thought we would be witnessing what we're witnessing today? We've got to be very strong, very, very smart, and we've got to come together, not only as a nation, but as a world community. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you. Thank you.
Your Eminence, Your Excellencies, members of the clergy, Alan Nance Smith, Donald and Melania, and all the distinguished guests. You know, earlier tonight, Al reminded me that when the first Al Smith ran for president, he chose as his running mate the progressive senator from Arkansas, Joseph T. Robinson, who was one of my husband's political heroes. This work that you do through the dinner, Al, you've done it now for 30 years, is such a labor of love. You've been a hero for both the children of the Archdiocese and for the city of New York. And I think we all owe Al Smith a great, great round of applause. And when I think about what Al Smith went through, it's important to just reflect how groundbreaking it was for him, a Catholic, to be my party's nominee for president. Don't forget, school boards sent home letters with children saying that if Al Smith is elected president, you will not be allowed to have or read a Bible. Voters were told that he would annul Protestant marriages. And I saw a story recently that said people even claimed the Holland Tunnel was a secret passageway to connect Rome and America to help the Pope rule our country. Those appeals to fear and division, can cause us to treat each other as the other. Rhetoric like that makes it harder for us to see each other, to respect each other, to listen to each other, and certainly a lot harder to love our neighbor as ourselves. I believe how we treat others is the highest expression of faith and of service. Now, I'm not Catholic, I'm a Methodist, but one of the things that we share is the belief that in order to achieve salvation, we need both faith and good works. And you certainly don't need to be Catholic to be inspired by the humility and heart of the Holy Father, Pope Francis, or to embrace his message. His message about rejecting a mindset of hostility, his calls to reduce inequality, his warnings about climate change, his appeal that we build bridges, not walls. Now, as you may know, my running mate, Tim, is Catholic and went to Jesuit schools, and one of the things he and I have talked about is this idea from the Jesuits of the Magus, the more, the better.
And I think once you start to kind of, look into that element of this whole religious fervor, this religious angle to politics, it starts to make more and more sense in terms of the direction we're going. We've got the Chosen series that some people still are just thinking is the greatest thing, and there's been a lot of videos that have come out about that. This app that they have, trying to get people to pray the rosary, and what's the dude who plays Jesus? What is he? Knights of Malta or Knights of Columbus or something like that? When they play the trump card, what is the end game? Yeah, I don't know. The reset. He's here to sell people on the reset. And yeah, Klaus Schwab retired, and Bill Gates doesn't get all the attention, and Anthony Fauci is retired or whatever, but the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies. I don't want to believe these things are coming, but that they're already being implemented, that they're already self-assembling, or at least being beta tested on billions of people right now. Who knows? I don't know. All I know is that, yeah, Trump is not the Messiah. He's not here to make America great again. Not telling people not to vote or, follow your conscience, but don't let your emotions sweep you up, in the movie moment. And stop and pray and ask God to open your eyes to what's really going on. We all have to do that, because it's just going to get crazier. I hate to say it. We don't know exactly what that means, but we need to keep our eyes fixed on the real Savior, on the real hope that is the resurrection, that is not earthly but eternal. And God can use all this stuff to open people's eyes and their hearts and bring them to Him. And that's the beauty of it. That's the treasure. That's the real win. The real win is when somebody gives their life to God and not to worldly promises, but they put their faith in the promises of God. The same promise that was given to Abraham, being offered to you and I, an eternal inheritance, the entire world. And, we're here now as ambassadors and emissaries of this eternal kingdom, this heavenly kingdom. And it's real, but it's invisible at the moment. But no, I do not believe God is protecting Donald Trump, but quite the opposite. Don't play the dialectic political game.